I appreciate it. I really am a Coke Zero fiend, so, but anyways. When I was 10 years old, I found out some pretty big news. I was gonna go from being an only child to having a little brother. Now, this meant a lot of change in my life. And my 10-year-old self wasn't necessarily super excited. If I'm honest with you all, it seemed kind of a whack deal on my end. Like, I was like, I don't know really what I'm getting out of this. Okay, a little brother, all right, cool, I guess. And I'm like, with all this change, kind of not a great deal on my end. One of the changes that was happening, and arguably the most important in my eyes, was that my attention would now have to be shared from just my mom and I to another little rascal, right? Like, my mom's attention wouldn't just be on me all the time, it would be on this other little dude that decided to come in. So that meant that I now went from being like the kind of center of my mom's world to sharing her attention. Now, before this point, my mom was super protective of me, so I never really could, like, go out and do things on my own. She was very protective. I couldn't really, like, ride my bike around the block with the other kids like all the other kids did, or she was just she sheltered me a lot. She took care of me a lot. I was, like, all the attention. She gave all of her attention to me, right? And now that a lot of things were changing and she couldn't dedicate her whole attention to me, this meant that she would have to start prepping me to be a little bit more independent. We moved to Denver from my hometown, and that was one of the other changes. Whack deal, right? But another big change. And when one of the perks of moving to Denver, and particularly Montbello, was that my school was a block away from where we lived. And this meant my mom would walk me to school every morning. I said, okay, I could live this life. Like, this seems like a pretty lavish life. My mom walking me to and from school every day. I love spending time with my mom. Of course I wanted this, right? One day, as she's picking me up from school and we're walking back home, we're just kind of talking about our day, typical stuff. How was your day? Great. What'd you eat for lunch? The Lunchable you packed me. Thanks, Mom. And she kind of turns to me all of a sudden, and she's like, hey, you know, one of these days I'm not going to pick you up, right? And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, that's not committed. We did not, I'm like, I don't think you raised me to be this way. But, and she was like, yeah, if there's ever a point, you're going to get out of school and you're not going to see me with all the other parents picking you up. And that should be a sign to you to go ahead and walk home, right? We've walked the same route multiple times. You know how to get home and you will be fine. Cool. I was like, yeah, whatever. This will never happen. I am going to go ahead and store this in the useless information in the part of my brain, right? It'll be fine. Whatever. A couple weeks later, I'm sitting in class. The teacher announces like that we're in the last 5 minutes of class, and I'm like, okay, cool. We had a big window in our classroom that you could look out of and see your parents standing waiting for you like these last 5 minutes. As I look out, I glance over the last 5 minutes. I don't see my mom outside with the other parents. And I'm like, okay, weird, she must be running a little late. And like some butterflies of nervousness just kind of start forming in my stomach. But fine, I like ward it off, whatever. As all the kids rush out, I get outside and I feel the sun beaming on my face and see all these parents joining with their kids and walking home, but I don't see my mom. I start freaking out. Like, all of a sudden, I am all alarms ringing, no thoughts, just freaking out. I don't know my mom's number. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel my eyes sting with tears, and I just start breaking down and crying my eyes out. And my teachers take me to the office because they don't know what to do with me, and my mom's not here, and they also can't reach my mom, so they don't know what's going on. And on the other end, my mom is freaking out because she thinks I got kidnapped, killed, or something of those sorts, and she's freaking out. So I'm sitting in this office and kind of just looking out this small window in the office, and all I see is my mom charging the school with like this worried look on her face of panic, and like she's red in the face and like just very, very panicked. As soon as she opens that door, I see her face transform from panic to relief to this like face of, oh, you're in trouble. And then she like puts on a nice face for these like really nice office ladies and like, oh yeah, thank you so much for keeping her, and like glances over at me, and I know I'm like in deep trouble. Like I'm like, I don't know what I just did, but I did some bad stuff. Like this isn't good. Like this is not good at all. And she like, we get out of this office and my mom just leans into me. She's like, all of her panic seems to just kind of release on me. She's like, what were you thinking? Why would you go? And the only explanation that I could like come up with through my sobs was I didn't know, right? I didn't know. What I didn't realize in the moment through my panic was that my mom had given me the instructions. She had showed me the way, and she had told me what to do. I knew what to do deep down, but I felt like I couldn't take that step without her. I now take this in my life, and I don't think she realizes that this was the very first time she like pushed me to be independent and be my own person. And now as I've grown up and become my own grown person, I've realized and taken this with me that while she might not always like how I live or walk my own path in life, I think she knows that she's taught me well enough to be this great and amazing person. And if I really need to, and I really, really panic and break down, I know I can always have my mom to run to. Thank you.